So, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? So, I use this tape, so it's like carnal mind proving carnal mind has no power. And that's interesting that I just picked that one, because it's like there's always something that I feel when I hear that title. And something that came to me today to share with you is this. It's like, if I am trying to prove that carnal mind has no power, what am I actually doing? Depends, of course, how I'm doing it, but if I use my perception and my senses for it to prove that carnal mind has no power, I'm actually confirming that it has power. Otherwise, there would be no need for me to do anything with it. Recognizing that it's nothing, recognizing that there's only one power. Like we saw this line at the bottom of the meditation. There's only one power. That I recognize. But proving carnal mind has no power is the same as proving carnal mind has power. So that's the conflict in the title, and that's good to know. You know, it's good to know to become alert in that sense how things are formulated. So carnal mind. Now is another thing. Here's another thing. Carnal mind. That's interesting. It is not personal. Joel says it's not personal. No, it's not personal. It definitely is not personal, but it is not personal, but you decide whether you value it or not. When you value it, it is as personal as can be. You're right in the middle of it. So it's totally personal. When you validate it as being something, you're in it. You're it. You're that body walking around in the three-dimensional world. You're the body who can die, who is, say, in time and space, doing its thing, whatever you want to call it. And you see, so that's another thing. It's like, now it's easy to say, like, no, carnal mind is not real. It's not personal, so I don't have to do anything with it, while in the same time I'm totally making it real for myself, and I'm stuck in the symptoms or in the consequences of my thinking. But I can walk around as an infinite way student for a long time thinking that there's nothing I can do about it because it's not personal and has no power, while at the same time confirming it has power and taking it for real, validating it, and even giving it value. So that's interesting. It would be the same, like Joel gives these examples, battling against disease, battling against this and battling against that, and then coming to the point to not resist evil. Sure, that's absolutely wonderful. That is really true. Like, that's really how that is. So the battle that you do is, in fact, because Joel mentions all the say the battle against someone else, but that's only part of the story. There can be a battle against yourself, of course. In the end, everything is a battle against yourself. If you're battling, you're in fact battling against yourself and not anywhere else. So that is also not so easy to listen to hear, and that's why I always have I love to say put my magnifying glass on it and taking another look. Not as a doubting Thomas, but more as I want to hear what it says. If I hear what it says, then the light comes, say, into my mind. I can actually communicate with it because I recognize it to be myself. Up to that point, it is dead to me, like there's nothing going on to me. So that's really interesting. so that was another point. So carnal mind, yeah, it's impersonal. Of course, the thoughts are where are they coming from? Like they don't even have a source. So they're running around in your mind, in your brain. You're the one validating them. But also, and this is interesting, it's like you validated, actually you made up a whole world around it. So don't tell me that you don't apply these ideas to make up a world that you think is real. Otherwise, you would not be here. You would residing in the and rejoicing in the love of God. But no, we actually encounter limitation. We I speak for myself. Okay, I encounter limitation when I think I'm this figure walking around in a three-dimensional time-space dimension, um, walking around at a certain point in time, having ideas about myself, about being located in a certain place. Now, resisting not evil is a great way. So, becoming still is a great way. For what? For seeing that your value system has no meaning. For seeing that carnal mind has no existence, like it has no, it is not there, it's nothingness in itself. So that means every thought that I have about myself in relationship with who and wherever is in fact a validation of my carnal being, so to speak. And so the undoing of that is quite something. You cannot just yeah, throw it away with an idea or transcend it with an idea like, yeah, it's not personal, it's an illusion. While at the same time being in the middle of it. So I made that point clear. So now the interesting thing is then, so you're not validating that for one instant. What happens to you? Like what happens to you when you not validating this being as this limited being as yourself? For one instant you let go of that idea. You become receptive for something else, for an alternative. What is that going to be? So here we enter into the part that is really interesting, and that is your experience. You actually enter into your experience of yourself, and not limited to a definition of yourself, but being yourself, coming into the realization of you. So that's so, yeah, that's so great to see what actually is occurring in us, but also, yeah, to stay really alert in what am I listening to? What am I actually thinking about this? What is this telling me? And how can that help me to come to my experience, to my experiencing the love of God, to me seeing my connectedness, literally experiencing my connectedness with my brother, with every aspect of creation, seeing that I'm not able to locate myself whatsoever. So it's private 25. It's like the dedicated ones are actually open with their ears to hear something new, to hear something that just need to be said. Joel did this all the time. That needed to be said, what he shared. It needed to be said. So that's really lovely. So in your discovery, you probably have these things coming up too. Or you can, of course, give a description of yourself and what you think your process is, and looking to it and talking about it. But the great fun is to just come into the experience and actually let this light just run through you, and not knowing where it will lead you, or with no intention to share anything except giving yourself totally to it in receptiveness and in inspiration and in openness to receive what is given in this moment to share. You know, that is so lovely. So I'm very happy that that is given to me to do. You know, that's it's like, wow, that's so great. I love that. I love that. Now I prepared some sheets. Do I know what I'm going to say about it? No, not at all. Not at all. But I'm going to share them anyway. So it's not being unprepared, but oh, actually I started already with it. Okay, so I'll share it that you can see it too. That's okay. So here we are, making it full screen. Proving carnal mind no power. Well, we got that about the title. So here, just an intro. 3 questions Joel asks here that I encountered. Is there a way out of these difficulties for an individual or for the world? Is there a way to avoid what really is the horror of human existence? Is there really a principle of harmonious living for an individual or for the world? Wow. Now this is getting us to a very specific place, right? So the question is there a way out of these difficulties for an individual or for the world? Now, there's also like a contradiction in the question, because is there a way out of these difficulties for an individual or for the world? Like, what is the world? What is the world that I see and the difficulties I experience in it? Now that is a very specific, say, question, you could say, but it has a contradiction in it. So I'd love to say more about that. So the next question is there a way to avoid what really is the horror of human existence? Like, this is a very normal human question, or like a question of a student in the spiritual path. Like, is there a way to actually avoid these horrors of human existence? Or is it just part of it and you need to go for it? You need to go through it, or whatever is going on. So that's also a very interesting point. Is there a principle of harmonious living? Like, is there a formula for harmonious living for an individual or for the world? Now this is really great stuff too. So to start with the first question, is there a way out of these difficulties for an individual or for the world? Now this becomes very interesting to me, because you can say, like, what is the world? What is the world but my ideas about it? What am I actually seeing? Like, what is the world that I see? And does it have a reality of its own? Is it alive in its own, or is it just all my perception of it and what I think is going on? Yeah, and you know that when, like, you've heard this, if you want to change the world, change your mind about the world. You've heard that too, that's been said. It's like, change your mind about the world. So apparently there's a relationship between you and the world that you are perceiving. And we learn from Joel many aspects about there's nothing out there. There's no such thing as something out there that can influence you, that can have power over you, that can do this and can do that. If you realize that it all originates, like, right here, that it starts with you, with how you are perceiving this. So this is a fundamental thing. So, like, the contradiction in the question was then for the individual or for the world. Like, there's no real difference between the individual and the world. So, coming back to that then. See, it's quite fundamental what I'm actually sharing, but I can't help it. Like, is there a way out of these difficulties? Yes, of course there is a way out of this. what did we just see in the meditation too? It's like, resist not evil. Resist not evil. Don't make it real in order to get stuck in it. So is there a way out of these difficulties? Yeah, by not trying to solve these difficulties, by not validating them as being something, like by being an entity that can work against you, as an evil force working against you. Now that is on different levels. Like if I think that I'm located in a certain place, experiencing difficulties with that place, what is the, how do I get out of that then? Because that's in fact the question too. It's like, how do I get out of, okay, so getting out of this. So what then is in fact, how can I prevent myself, this was the other question too, how can I avoid the horrors of the world in my existence? Like if I validate myself as a carnal being in this world, then I'm in it. And with it go all the principles, all the, associations that belong to it. All the duality, all the conflict, all of this is embedded into the human thinking, into carnal mind, you could say. It's related to your body, it's related to a world where you put your foot down on the ground to walk because you're located somewhere. So when you do that, then you are confronted with all the difficulties. Now, is there a way out of that? Luckily there is. Luckily there is. And this is what we practice, recognizing ourselves as the truth of who we are, like not limited to a body, not in this world, not in this world as being like a total part of it, and that's my whole area of my whole sphere of living. No, letting this go for a moment brings you into within experience that goes beyond your perception and beyond all the thoughts that you could have about it. So you can say like you die into your humanhood, into your withinness, into your stillness, into the peace that passes understanding, into the stillness. And that is the place like where you open up, in fact, where you are open to come into communication with everything that is, with the truth of who you are, with God, with the universe, with all of that. It's like, however you name that, that's fine with me. But the experience will inevitably be that you feel completely connected to whatever you are experiencing, and it's like it's whole in itself. That's about the best explanation I can give, because it's an experience. So what am I trying to express here? So that is the way out. But how do you get there? How do you do that? Now Joel gives the instruction of sitting still, meditating, reading, listening, contemplating, asking, and praying as being a wordless prayer, just opening up for communication, whether with result or not. You just open up for that. You say, in fact, vacate your mind for the light to come in. You create space in your mind for the light to come in. It will come to you. It knows its way. Like you don't have to come up with it yourself or try to get God to you. No, God knows his way. So that's the theory, that's the practice of it. That's how the ideas related to it. So now you see, I think I have one more question that is here. I will not. Yeah, I see. So is there a principle of harmonious living for an individual or for the world? Well, the world is then like, okay, so there's no such thing as a world. Wait, I try to get out of this. There's no such thing as a world apart from your ideas, you know? So is there a harmonious principle for you as an individual? Is there a harmonious principle? Well, one of them is being shared, like resist not evil. And in fact, it's always where we say focus on in our spiritual development. It's like spirit rules here. You allow something else to occur to you. You're not trying to deal with the world as a human being as you were accustomed to by habits, by this, by that. No, you sit still and ask for the realization. You in fact ask, okay, so if I'm not a carnal mind, what the hell am I? Because everything that I think is related to this world, to my body, to time, to all of this. And I experience like continuous conflict. So if I'm not that, what on earth am I? What am I? And so this is like a great question to ask, to come to a different experience of yourself. Like a great question. Who am I? I want to know who I am. If I know who I am, I'm in fact out of trouble. You know, I'm out of the difficulties. I'm out of the conflict. I can be in this world, but not of it at all. I can just be in this recognition of the truth that I am. So that is the work that we do. It's like that's the work. Who am I? So and not saying like I'm the Christ or I'm the this, I'm the that. It's like no. Who am I? I want that what is real about me to tell me. I want to say receive that for myself by becoming completely still and remembering. So this I just want to read, I think. And there's no use trying to reform the men who are responsible for the conditions that you see in the world, but rather to lay the axe at the root of the tree, that is, handle the carnal mind as nothingness, as no power, as having no person in which, on which, or through which to operate. And from that day on, I have never missed a week. And very few days I have not worked consciously for the realization of this. Yeah, that's what we do too. It's like, yeah, we in fact handle the carnal mind as nothingness. We learn to do that. Nothingness, nothingness, no power, no person. You can say no mind. As a human being, if you can see, if you can say, convince yourself sounds silly, but it's like recognizing that when you are thinking, that when you are using your thoughts that you are thinking, you're actually not thinking at all. Like it is not what thinking is. It is something that we've learned to developed ourselves. But in fact, we talked about this the other day too. It's like the frequency of it is as flat as can be. It's like there's no life in it. It is a nothingness. It is, yeah, it has no meaning, literally. It is no mind being concerned with difficulties in no man's land. That is what that is, and that realization in itself is humongous, because it's the end of your carnal mind. It's of your attachment to carnal mind. So it takes a moment to allowing yourself to completely let that be your reality. It takes a moment, because you did learn all about carnal mind and identifying with it. That didn't happen in one day either. So the undoing of that takes a moment too, and that's perfectly all right. So this is our practice, and we're on it. You know, you wanna stay on it, but at the same time, just be patient with yourself. Yes, you make mistakes. Yes, and you bump your head. Yeah, and you experience pain, and you experience yourself as being this body stuck in problems. Sure, and on and on. So the continuing practice then is to let go, to allow something else to come to you, being aware that you have a choice in what you validate or not. So that is what I wanted to share, and I feel that it's almost now ready. I'm ready with this, and so it's great to take a moment to freely express what runs through you. I can really like, yeah, invite you to do the same. It's really beautiful, not knowing anything, not having an agenda on what to share or what to say, but just feeling that, oh yeah, there's a connectedness with the message of, with that what is being shared, and you can totally trust that. All right.